Live in Western Oregon, this is NBC 16 News at 5.
Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jacqueline Mazer. Now, we are standing by for a press conference at Thurston Middle School about the status of the Holiday Farm fire. Fire officials are expected to give an update on evacuation levels, fire area damage, assessment plans, road closures, and other information related to that fire. Now, while we do wait for the press conference, here is what we know about the Holiday Farm fire so far. More than 144,000 acres have burned. The fire is still at 0% containment. The fire is now 5 times the size of Eugene. That changed just from yesterday when our Ellen Matthews showed us just what 4 times the size of Eugene looks like, so you can imagine at 5 now. It started Monday night along Highway 126 west of McKenzie Bridge to Vida. There are more than 17,000 structures threatened, causing several evacuations. And currently 207 fire crews are working to contain the fire, but we're told the size of this fire requires much more manpower. So thankfully, 375 National Guard troops are expected to arrive Saturday to help fight the Holiday Farm fire. The cause of the fire, as we mentioned, is still unknown. Now we're turning to our Ellen Matthews, who is standing live in the Weather Center tonight. Ellen, there's so much to talk about. Let's start this evening with air quality.
Yeah, air quality right now, it is in the hazardous range, not only for Eugene, but also you get down to Cottage Grove and Roseburg. And unfortunately, our air quality alert, we figured this was going to get extended. It was supposed to come to an end at noon today. We knew it probably wasn't going to do that. It's actually been extended until Monday. And part of the problem that we're dealing with right now, I mean, keep in mind that all those heavy wind speeds from the east helped fan that fire earlier in the week and really pushed it at a quick rate of speed. Well, thankfully, those winds have died down to help firefighters. But the flip side of that is that with no winds, there's nothing pushing the smoke out of it, so out of the valley. So basically, it's just kind of like a bowl, and that smoke is just sitting here right now. And of course, part of the problem is we have very low visibilities, which makes it a problem for them to actually try to fight this fire from the air. So it's kind of a good news, bad news situation. But you know, where that smoke looks like it's going to stay with us at least through the weekend, actually.
Right, definitely, and that of course is definitely bad for all of us. We shouldn't
Yes.
be outside running around or, you know, wear your masks, especially the N95 masks if you have one. Our producer just told us we're going to take a live look at that press conference right now. Here it is. As you can see, staff is preparing for this press conference to give us more information about the Holiday Farm fire. They look like they're standing by, getting everything in order. You can see the map of what appears to be the fire on the left-hand side of your screen. Of course, this is a live shot for you today. Let's see what he's posting on the wall there. All right, it looks like a number for evacuation info. We're switching gears now a little bit much, so we're going to take a look at this map here on your screen. Now, these are the evacuation orders here in Lane County. All the red areas mean a level 3 evacuation notice, which means go now. Now, go now, of course, do not take time to gather anything, just get out. The yellow is a level 2 evacuation notice, mainly towards the far right side of your screen and a little bit on the left there. Now, the yellow notice level 2 evacuation means be set. So when you're being set, you're prepared to leave at any moment. Level 1 in the green there at the top and bottom of your screen means be ready to leave. That means pack your valuables, including any important documents. Just earlier, I was taking a look at the government's website, and there's a full list of there for items that you should take with you. All the obvious items, of course, and then the one thing that stood out for me is the propane tank. But we're going to take a live look at that press conference starting right now.
Evacuation situation and what's going on the Holiday Farm fire. Today speaking, my name is Damon Simmons. I'm one of the fire information officers. We will also have Incident Commander Ian Yoakum. Then we will have Operations Section Chief Alex Haven, Sheriff Clifton Harold, and available but not speaking will be Joe Harwood from EWEB. I will introduce the speakers and then they can introduce each other. Chief.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ian Yoakum, and I'm the Incident Commander for the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office, Red Team. We are in unified command with the Oregon Department of Forestry, Link Smith's team, Team 3, and what unified command means that the OSFM, the structural resources, and then our wildland partners, the ODF partners, we're working together. We're in unified command and a unified process with our teams and with our resources. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Holiday Farm fire. Currently, we're sitting at 144,586 acres. This fire, again, started on Monday night. The fire is along the McKenzie River on Highway 126, affecting the communities of Rainbow, Blue River, Vida, McKinsey Bridge, Leeburg, Waterville, and Fall Creek. Current evacuations, total of 17,632. I'm going to go through each of those levels so everybody hears the numbers. And in Lane County, level 3, we have 4,776 in level 3. Level 2, 671. In level 1, 6,275. In Lynn County, on level 3, we have 280. That's to the north. And none in level 2, and in level 1, we have 5,630. I want to give a little bit of what's happened around the state in the sense that an average year across Oregon, we burn 500,000 acres. That's a 10-year average. In the last 72 hours, we've almost burned 1 million acres. Significant fire in 3 days. Again, our focus is going to be on evacuations. And again, that's the Sheriff's Office, and Sheriff Harold is going to talk about how we make those decisions, and then again, how he's working side by side with our fire operations team to make sure that our communities are safe. Our priority has been keep Highway 126 open. Not just for our safety of our emergency operations, for our crews, but for the people of those communities. We have had significant loss of homes. Our structural task force and wildland crews, though, have saved hundreds of homes. We're still in an active firefight. We're still working within those homes and at the front of that fire to protect as many homes as possible with our structural task forces and our wildland crews. Our incident priorities have not changed, and that is life safety for our emergency crews and the communities and the people that are affected by this. Within the next 48 to 72 hours, we're going to start our damage assessment and work through the homes that have been lost. Again, our safety concerns are access, traffic control. Please stay out of the evacuated areas. There's still falling trees, debris. Highway 126, we constantly have crews working to keep that road open for our emergency crews. Please stay out of the evacuated areas. One success is we have not had one firefighter, law enforcement officer, or first responder hurt since this incident. I would encourage all of you to make sure that you're getting all your information from the county EOC, from Lane County, and from the Sheriff's Office on evacuations. Thank you, and next will be Operations Chief Alex Haven.
Good evening, Operations Chief for Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office. On Monday night, when the holiday farm fire started, multiple agencies responded to the areas of Rainbow and Blue River. They were quickly overwhelmed by fire. Steady east winds and dry fuels caused significant fire growth, making it difficult for firefighters to combat the fire and tragically impacting multiple communities. Tuesday morning, the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office deployed an IMT and 2 structural task forces from the counties of Yamhill and Polk. Upon arrival, firefighters were quickly deployed out to the fire line up Highway 126 with a priority of assisting 3 local task forces in the area of Blue River and rescuing multiple civilians that were trapped by the fire. Tuesday night, ODF deployed an IMT and wildland resources, Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office, and ODF resources quickly unified towards a collaborated effort. Since then, structural and wildland crews have been engaged in active firefighting along Highway 126, providing point protection to structures and working diligently to create control lines around structures and the front of the fire. As a result, hundreds of homes have been saved. We continue to look for opportunities to slow fire progression and monitor areas that have been impacted by fire. And this time I'm going to turn to the map and just kind of give you a quick rundown of where crews are at and what we've got, how we're structured. So heel of the fire is kind of where the fire started. This is your Blue River area, your Rainbow area. We have crews, both wildland from the United States Forest Service, ODF, and the State Fire Marshal's Office staged up here, spiking them out. A lot of those resources are staying up there 24 hours a day. They're doing, continue to do point protection. We're doing mop-up now around structures. and we're also looking for opportunities to kind of get behind the fire line. We're also assisting, there's some residents that are still in that area, and we're also providing assistance to them where we can. So from Rainbow pretty much through Nimrod, the Highway 26 has almost been inaccessible to our fire crews just because of down power lines and trees, falling rocks and debris. It's been difficult for us to get back up in here. We've been able to get it open temporarily for emergency access, but overall we've been staying out of this area, and we're working to diligently get that opened a little bit more permanently for our crews to get in there. Most of the work the last few days since Monday, and this is where the fire had progressed basically through Tuesday morning into Tuesday night, but Vida west all the way through Leeburg, and you can see where the fire's at now. We've had crews doing point protection, ODF working to try and get in front of this line to create those control lines, and they're trying to get around it on each one of these fingers. We still have a lot of active firefighting going on in here. And as crews, we're starting to mop up in some areas, but as crews are working, there's still a lot of additional hazards that we're experiencing, bridges that are burning through. So there's still a lot of risk in there, still a lot of work to be done. Over the next few days, we'll begin experiencing a shift in the weather from an easterly flow to a north-northwest. This will most likely cause a change in fire direction. And behavior that is consistent with local fire patterns and terrain influences. The fuels will be they're still significantly dry, and fire behavior growth is still a concern of ours. This may cause smoke to lift and be a lot more visible from the west. So the communities of Springfield and Eugene and up north and down south will be able to see the fire a lot more visibly. So there will be a lot of fire, potential smoke column. It's all anticipated. And we understand that there are a lot of questions also about structures in the residence that may have been impacted. And as we continue to work the fire, we're also looking for opportunities to begin performing those structure assessments that Chief Yoakum talked about. We're working with Lane County Sheriff and Lane County Emergency Management on a plan to start these assessments when fire conditions create safer conditions for us to get into the area. And once able to do so, we will have a structural assessment task force dedicated to begin assessments of impacted residents and conditions within those communities. The task force will strategically work through the communities and structures as conditions safely allow. It is our goal to start those as soon as possible. We would like to thank the local fire law enforcement agencies for their continued partnership and support of the incident management team. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Sheriff Cliff Harold, Lane County Sheriff. And before I forget to mention, I've been in communication with Lynn County Sheriff Jim Yon. We also have Lynn County Sheriff's representative that's been in the same room as me since 6 a.m. this morning and has been every day. So in good communication with the Lynn County Sheriff's Office for all the folks that are in Lynn County regarding evacuations, and Sheriff Yon, of course, in his EOC up in Lynn County. So the information I'm going to share, I'm going to be predominantly talking about Lane County, but it is applicable to that southern Lane County evacuation. As you've already heard, this fire moved really fast on Monday, so when it came to evacuations, our on-duty staff were participating in that along with on-duty fire resources up the river as quickly as they could, I should say, as that fire moved quickly downriver. Tuesday, we were able to get our feet under ourselves a little bit as the IMT stood up. We had good information. We've been co-located with them throughout. And so we're making those evacuation notices based on the best information we have standing right next to the fire folks. So Tuesday we were able to establish some better evacuation zones. And then I think Wednesday we made a slight adjustment, which did include that level 1 in Thurston. I know it impacted at a level 1 a lot of folks. But since that time we've established those, and we're feeling real confident that those are what they need to be. I think we're hearing some from the community that since there was so much change early, and now that they're feeling like there's been a significant change, why aren't the evacuation zones changing? And as you just heard, the fire is changing, right? When winds change, it's an active fire. And so we're confident that those evacuation levels are what they need to be. And we really need the community to understand that those are based on the best information we have available. And they're for the community safety, and they're for the firefighter safety, right? We don't want to do anything that hinders their ability to fight this fire. It's really important that folks pay attention to those evacuation levels and heed that. We recognize that people, obviously there's a lot of concern, right, about folks that live in that area, folks that were supposed to be in that area. So we have a call center that's got a really good system for documenting those calls. As people call in, they say, hey, I have a loved one that was supposed to be at X location in the fire. We've got a really good system in place for documenting all those. We've been documenting all those, we're plotting them. As we plan with fire on how we'll go out and do assessments, we have all those plotted, and we're ready when the fire conditions allow us to go out and do those welfare checks. We also need people to call us back when they've made contact, right? So they can't get a hold of somebody that they thought was in that area. They call us and let us know. Well, that's great, keep doing that. If subsequently you have contact with them and you know that they're safe, we really need you to call us back. Again, we've got a good system in place to track all that, but we have to have that communication from the community. And that's through our call center, the call center number. So we need folks to continue to do that for us. As was mentioned by the fire chiefs, there's a lot of concern about structures, and we understand that significant fire that went through there. We'll continue with our planning on when they're able to allow us to go in and do any sort of assessment of structures. We're going to provide that information to the community as soon as we're able to. Again, really need the community to understand this is an active fire. It's still happening, and we have to let the fire folks do their work first. That's the priority. Life safety is the priority. So just as a reminder on the limited access, again, we know that the community wants to get back in there. You may have heard from somebody who came in through a back road and said, no, I was fine, I was able to get through. 5 minutes later, that information is old. A different tree has come down, a different fire has spiked up. So please don't listen to that rumor mill information that you can access certain places. We really need you to pay attention to the evacuation zones and heed those. It's really of utmost importance, not only for your own safety, but for the safety of the firefighters going up and down that highway. We've gotten some reports from our fire folks that on the east side, the highway has people on it that just need to not be there, and they are hindering operations, and it's causing a safety hazard. And so we really need to ask people to pay attention to those and heed those. We actually have some resources coming in from the National Guard tonight. They're going to help us control those access points. They'll be set up where, for the last couple of days, we've had deputy sheriffs and state troopers and some ODOT folks set up at those. We'll have National Guardsmen helping us staff those. Will continue to be in communication with us and with fire with respect to access, but they are coming in tonight and getting set up. Once they're in place, that's going to free up our law enforcement resources rather than having to be so many of them stationary right there. They'll be able to do a lot more patrolling. So as long as fire conditions allow, we'll have law enforcement patrolling these communities. We understand it's a big deal when we've asked you to leave your home. We're going to do the best job we can patrolling in those areas. We're going to be contacting people that we find in those areas. We're going to be identifying those people. And I want the community to know criminal behavior is not going to be tolerated. We're going to take enforcement action as necessary on those situations. We have some great partners, particularly with Oregon State Police, but the Eugene Police Department, Springfield Police Department. We have Forest Service LEOs, and the Deschutes County Sheriff's Office coming in from the other side. So we've got a lot of good cooperation going with respect to being able to provide those services. Obviously, the community understands this is a significant event, right? I mean, there's been nothing like this in the years that I've lived in Lane County. I've been with the Sheriff's Office for 30 years. I've heard from my fire professional new friends, this is a historic and unprecedented event. And so the community really needs to understand that this is going to be a period of time. This is going to be something that's in place for a period of time. We're preparing for that. We've got the partnership and the communication. We're preparing for that, and we need the community to prepare that this is a period of time for us to work through this. I understand these are family, friends, neighbors. This is emotional stuff, and we understand that. We have people impacted too. We've got deputies who have evacuated. We've got fire personnel who have evacuated, and they're serving. As everyone is, and so we understand the impacts of this, and those are going to be long and long-lasting, but we also see consistently the way our community comes out and supports in so many different ways. The Red Cross Center, and I think of most significance is the support for each other, the support for the neighbors, the support for people that they know need a spot to stay, and we're seeing that over and over and over again, and just really appreciate that, and really want people to just continue taking care of each other just like that. That's obviously one of the fantastic things about living in Lane County is awesome community taking care of each other. So just want to ask everybody to continue to do that. heed the evacuation notices, know that we've got a good system set up, good communication, great teamwork, and just a ton of people who are internally motivated to serve this community right now working on this. Thanks.
So 72 hours, this is still a very active firefight. I think that's the biggest piece, and we just ask people for a little bit of patience as we work through, and with our limited resources, we work to get them back into their homes. We recognize how important that is, so we thank the public for their patience with us. At this time, we'll take a few questions. It's not going to be many because I've got to get these important people back to their jobs, but we will take a few questions, and if you just identify the speaker that you want to hear from, we will bring them up so that everyone can get the best view.
I have a question for the sheriff. Can you address the looting and the reports of people's homes being burglarized? Because we're getting those calls into our newsroom.
Yeah, absolutely. We've heard those rumors too of widespread looting. We have no reports of widespread looting. We're seeing that not only in this area of our fire, but our partners that are in southern and northern Oregon who are also dealing with fire. That's just something that the community is feeling anxiety about for sure. Like I said, we've got everybody in my patrol division is working 12 on, 12 off, regardless of days off. We're putting staff out there. They're going to be, now with the National Guard coming in, they're going to be freed up to be even more visible, high visibility patrols. The short answer is we don't have any reports of widespread looting.
And I have a question for one of the incident commanders. Are there any words on fatalities at this point?
So we don't have any information to indicate fatalities at this point in time. However, I will qualify that with this was a very explosive fire event, and we have a lot of damaged structures, so it is a very real possibility. So I don't want to underestimate the seriousness of this, and that possibility is real.
And then also when it comes to people worried about animals and livestock up the Mackenzie Valley, how can they help, or how are you working with the Humane Society to rescue some of those animals that may be trapped up there?
Yeah, we've got several groups that we're working with to try to rescue animals. We're trying to enable people with larger animals, horses, things like that. We're trying to find ways to get those animals to safe spaces, but they're working within the system and working with firefighters so that we don't have people moving unaccounted for in the fire area. As I've said before, we're using fire at times to stop fire, to remove fuel ahead of fire, and it's very easy for someone to get caught in the middle of that, and we really, really, really don't want something like that to happen. So we need to know everyone who's in the fire area, and we need to know exactly where they are. Yeah.
So there's the estimated containment date of October 29th. Could you share with me what containment means for that date? Does that mean like 100%, or is that just managing it?
You know, I would say that containment means that we are confident that fire is not going to move anywhere else, and I would say that estimate is very rough. We put those numbers into the system to give ourselves, sort of something to shoot for, but realistically it's so dependent on weather, and containment does not mean that the fire is out, right? There's a good chance that this fire will still be burning well into the rainy season, well into the winter. Containment is when we've got good line around the fire and we're confident that it's not going to escape that line.
And then can you...
I have a question for the sheriff. When you were talking about evacuation levels, it sounded like you feel like we're at a place where they're not going to be changing in the near future?
Yes, that's the way we felt this morning. We do touch base regularly to evaluate those. We have some idea of what point we would continue to reevaluate those, but at this point we're comfortable with the ones that we have set. And as was already said, the fire moved really quickly right at first, but then it has not moved as quickly. It doesn't mean it's not still moving, and it certainly is still dangerous. But we were able to establish those zones. We were fairly aggressive when we established the one from Arcola. It was a fairly high amount of population. We believed it was going to be necessary later that night, so we did it early to give people more opportunity, ingress and egress being limited to that area. So once we got that set, and then putting the level 1 for Jasper Creek, Lowell, around Bob Straub, getting those in place really put us in a good position, and now we'll just continue to evaluate that. I'd say the other one is the level 2 that's on the east side, McKenzie Bridge. We'll continue to watch that to see if that ends up needing to go up again.
Is there any sense of what you can say to people who are wondering when they can go back home?
Yeah, I would just say keep looking at the website, keep evaluating or keep checking in on those evacuation zones. And as you've heard from the fire professionals, it's still an active fire, and there's just a lot of unknowns. And I think people, the public has access to every kind of fire map online now, and so they look at it and they sort of make some decisions in their own mind of what they think we should be doing. And all I can tell you is I'm not a fire guy. I've been a police guy for 30 years, but I'm standing next to fire guys. They're telling me what the fires are doing. I'm asking them questions because they speak a language that I don't speak, that talks about the dangerous levels that they're sending people into. I listen to their safety briefings as they're giving safety information to the crews they're sending out to work this fire, and they're talking to their crews about the situation they're sending them into, and that's not a situation that we want the public in. Honestly, it's not a situation I want my deputies in. I Tuesday morning drove out McKenzie Highway and saw what some of our deputies were doing. We don't want that. So we don't want that for the community.
Just so that I can make sure that I'm clear, so is there any reason right now for people in Eugene to be concerned about any sort of evacuation level?
No, and we'd give them lots of notice if that was a concern.
And then when it comes to the lack of resources in the beginning of this fire, what is different from what started on Monday compared to the Mapleton fire? Because I know there were a lot of resources that went to Mapleton.
So I would say that this fire and the fires surrounding it are kind of an unprecedented event, and we make do with what we have, but 72 hours, that's how far we are into this thing, and it's 145,000 acres, right? We just haven't seen anything like this in this state. And then we're dealing with it all along the whole West Coast. So, I can't compare it to other fires or what resources they have, but I would just say that I don't feel like we're being shorted in any way by anyone. All these fires are dealing with shortages of people. So it's just a tough situation all around. And to kind of reinforce what the sheriff's saying about those early evacuations and the importance of that, I know there's a fire in Clackamas County right now, and there's a road with cars stacked up on it. And it's so important to give people that early warning and start getting them out early so we have plenty of time to get them out of the way of this fire.
And then I know you guys mentioned that the National Guard will be coming to this fire. Do you know how many personnel are going to be coming to this fire, according to the governor? And also, do you know how many people are coming from out of state to help out with this fire at this time?
I believe there's approximately 24 people from the Guard coming. And I also know that there are available in the area, National Guard air assets, air medical units are working within the state as well. So those are the resources. And what was the second part of your question?
And do you know how many resources will be coming out of state? Because I know the governor mentioned that Utah responded to the call for help, or any of those resources coming to this fire.
Yeah, I don't have those exact numbers, and I'm not aware if they are coming to this fire at this point in time, but we'll definitely get back to you with an answer on that one.
How are firefighters doing, just like in terms of being able to take care of themselves?
I'll tell you, it really varies. Some are very stoic, some are in tears, and rightfully so. Some have lost their homes, right? And they're out there going back out again. One of the fire chiefs in this area lost her home, and this morning I saw her, and I said, "Are you heading back out?" And she said, "Yeah, my people need me," and she's heading back out to the fire line today. So it really varies, and we're trying to take care of each other. And more importantly, we're doing what we signed up to do and what law enforcement signed up to do, right? We're here to take care of the community.
You mentioned fighting for the fire from the side. Are you also going from the back, or what exactly does that mean?
What do you mean by fighting fire from the side?
You had mentioned just going from the side or from the back.
So oftentimes, I'm just going to talk kind of broadly here because I'm not sure exactly what you mean by your question. We don't want to get directly in front of a moving fire front, so these fires are moving at a high rate of speed, and we don't want to get directly in front of that. So we will take a flanking maneuver and try to hit it from the side that way, and we will try to get ahead of that fire but we need an anchor point and we need a place to escape to if the fire starts pushing hard against us. So that may be what you're talking about, and that's a tactic that's often used in wildland firefighting.
And then you guys mentioned that there are still people near Mackenzie Bridge that I don't know if they're trapped or what, but it sounds like you guys are helping those people. What exactly is going on with that group of people up near Mackenzie Bridge?
I'm gonna let Alex take that one.
You bet. So I'll refer to the map again, just so that there's a frame of reference where our fire's at in Rainbow. The Mackenzie Bridge is a little bit farther back, and so this area here, because of the direction the fire was traveling, was in a level 2. So there's still residents that are back in this area, and even this morning, we still found, just doing searches in the Rainbow area and Blue River area, we still found residents that have been down trapped because they couldn't get out. So. And there's some people that just don't want, there's frankly just people that just don't want to leave their homes. I think they're very hopeful that that's the only thing that they have, and they're staying in those areas regardless of what we recommend to them. So we're trying to provide as much support to them as possible.
Yeah, how are they getting resources? Because both ends of the highway are closed.
We're able to get resources in. We're actually able to go around the fire through Mohawk, and we have a little bit of access up and through the Bend area, up off Highway 20. So we're able to get some resources in. It's just not conducive to this fire camp to get it there quickly. So that's why we're staging resources there for 24 hours a day.
I promised these guys I'd have them out by 5:30, so we'll take one more question.
I guess I have a question for the eWeb representative that's here.
Joe?
So we're getting a lot of concerns about just the tap water and just water contamination in general. Can you address those concerns that the community is having?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are aware that there are taste and odor issues with the tap water in Eugene, and that's directly related to the fire impacts. What you have is you have the burned and eroded slopes above and around the river, and so when you get that burned material, it adds quite a bit of additional organic compounds into the water. And so one of the things that we started doing on Wednesday was we started using powder activated carbon, and what we call it PAC. What powder activated carbon does is it essentially absorbs the molecules of the organics that we're finding in the untreated water. Once those molecules attach to the carbon, we're able to filter those out and then backwash the filters. And it's going to take, I would say, probably Friday or Saturday until folks in Eugene start to notice an improvement in their water. But I do want to certainly emphasize that the water is disinfected. It is safe to drink. It's just not up to the standards that people have come to expect.
Thank you, and I'll be around for a little bit longer for additional questions, but we're going to release our incident command staff and our law enforcement staff to get back to their good work. Thank you, fellas. Anything else I can answer for you guys before we close it out? Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. Yeah, we'll exit out this door and just right straight out to the field, okay?
All right, that was our Keely McCormick, who was joining us from that press conference live that we just saw. To wrap it up real quick for you tonight, 1 million acres in the state in the past 72 hours have burned. To look on the positive side, community support is there. No people on the front lines have been injured that we know of so far. And of course, the fight continues, but we will have a complete wrap up a little bit later in our show. Stick with us. We will be back after this commercial break.